Greetings everyone. My name is Kritin Bhasin and I serve as the host for the 8th session and the 2nd online edition for Martiniere Model United Nations. Abiding by the vision of providing a platform to the students of classes 8 to 12th for researching, debating, negotiating and deliberating upon issues of immediate concern, Martiniere Model United Nations Society has taken the initiative of organizing the 2nd online edition of Martiniere Model United Nations. Given that the pandemic is still our reality, we have thus chosen to use the virtual platform to remain in touch and to continue to develop our skills in understanding international affairs. This conference would not have been possible without the guidance from our faculty advisor, Dr. Zeba Siddiqui. I would now like to request her to address the audience.
Hello everyone. On behalf of Martiniere College, Lucknow, I welcome you to the 8th edition of Martiniere Model United Nations. This event is being conducted under exceptional circumstances. Let us always remember that United Nations is always ready for emergency situations and provides the quickest response to the crises that affect the world. The global pandemic has challenged each of us, stimulating the response of international bodies in the process of learning for all those interested in international affairs. We hope this MUN will guide us in this. A very special welcome to our keynote speakers over the next 3 years and the members of our executive board for each committee who have served in previous MUNs held in our college. I wish you all the best and hope you continue to remain safe and healthy from many locations where you are. Thank you.
I would now like to invite the principal, Mr. Carlisle McFarland, to address the audience.
I thank you very much for this opportunity of addressing this conference of the Model United Nations organized by our boys of Martiniere. I am happy that the school is represented by its vice principal, faculty advisor Dr. Zeba Siddiqui, Kinjalk Sharma and the executive committee who have worked tirelessly, especially using a new medium to be able to conduct this program. We look forward to a few days of heated discussion, lots of simulation, some fancy dressing, messages which may not be only politically inclined or diplomatically inclined, friendships that will be established, and an overall respect for each other which such programs promote. In the last year, our health crisis has once again brought the world together. It would not have been possible to survive had people from different parts of the world not got together in the supply of ingredients for medicine, different ingredients for a vaccine, getting together with protocols for the export of certain products, each of these associated with saving lives. The wars of the world, unfortunately, did not cease. The crises were no less. But each of us understood that above all the crises that we have now got quite used to, health, rehabilitation, vaccination, protocols for health have indeed become the most serious and conscious problem that we have to address. I am glad that all those delegates to this virtual conference will also be focusing on these issues, as well as realizing that the world of diplomacy does require multitasking. You can have the best of vaccination programs which can be completely scuttled by an evacuation from Afghanistan. They all go together. They must go together. Aeroplanes are still going to be hijacked. States are still going to conduct things and actions which are beyond the regulations of international law. And we have to be prepared to deal with each of them. I am grateful that my boys have carefully thought of the different agenda for this entire conference. They have been guided by Dr. Zeba Siddiqui, who was the first member of staff to bring this concept and this competition to the college. LMUN, or LMUN as the boys call it, has become popular. Why I love it is because I actually see my boys studying, preparing, researching, presenting, and doing this all with a dignity and a formality that definitely includes the best elements of academic work. I wish you all the best. Let LMUN 21 be a great success.
This initiative would not have been possible without those behind it. Therefore, dear delegates, it is my pleasure to introduce you to the Secretariat for Martiniere Model United Nations 2021. Each of them is being presented with a gavel in recognition of their contribution. Firstly, the Under Secretary General for Committees and Policy, Syed Muhammad Ayan Rizvi. Then we have the Under Secretary General for Global Communications, Krishnan Gulati. Then we have the Under Secretary General for Administration, Ariman Sethi. The Deputy Secretary General, Ranveer Singh Sial. And lastly, but surely the most hardworking, the Secretary General, Kinjalk Sharma.
And now I would like to call upon the Under Secretary General for Delegate Affairs, Kritin Bhasin.
Martiniere Model United Nations is privileged to welcome 46 delegations and a considerable number of individual delegates from all over the world. We would have preferred to host such a global delegation at our campus that promises a rich history, but nonetheless, we hope to make you feel welcomed even if you have to do it virtually. To do so, we like to share a few glimpses of our college with you so you feel connected to the experience of Martiniere College. We also hope that you visit us here when the situation allows. we are pleased to present the schools participating in LMUN 2021 in an alphabetical order. The most crucial part of an MUN conference is its committees. I would now like to present to you the 10 committees that are being simulated at La Martiniere Model United Nations 2021. The first committee being simulated is United Nations General Assembly, Disarmament and International Security Committee, with the agenda discussing transparency in weapons spending and proliferation, specifically focusing on the production and trade of unconventional weapons, regulated and unregulated. The second committee is the United Nations Development Programme, with the agenda constituting a framework to build and implement infrastructural development at various levels, focusing specifically on non-self-governing territories. The third committee is the United Nations Security Council, with the agenda discussing the need for reforms within the UNSC in the contemporary multipolar paradigm of international relations. The fourth committee is the United Nations Human Rights Council, with the agenda the application and implication of Article 9 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, with special emphasis on political prisoners and displaced communities. The fifth committee is the US House Committee on the Judiciary, with the agenda being, with reference to the Capitol Hill storming, addressing the utilization of free speech by violent political elements and working towards the formulation of an effective strategy to prevent further political violence. The sixth committee is the National Security Council Strategic Policy Group, with the agenda contemplating on the tenability of current foreign policy statements in pursuance of geopolitical goals and aspirants. The seventh committee is the German Confederation, with the agenda unification of German-speaking states. The eighth committee is the Oda Nobunaga's Council, with the agenda unification of Japan. The ninth committee is the Presidium of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, with the agenda discussing political reforms in the post-Stalin era. The 10th and the premier committee being simulated in La Martiniere Model United Nations is the Ad hoc Committee of the Secretary General.
On behalf of the patron and principal of the college, our faculty advisor and the organizing committee of LMUN 2021, it is my pleasure to welcome our guest speaker for the opening ceremony, Mr. Akash Banerjee. He serves as the founder and host at India's largest satire platform with 3.5 million subscribers across multiple social media platforms. Mr. Banerjee, better known as the Deshbhakt Banerjee, is a renowned personality in the field of public speaking and media reporting and is an alumnus of La Martiniere College, Lucknow. With over 17 years of professional working experience, Mr. Banerjee has worked with diverse companies such as Times Now, Headline Today, India Today, in various positions including Vice President at India's biggest radio network, Radio Mirchi. Mr. Banerjee also authored a book titled Tales from Shining and Sinking India that gained mass recognition and now is part of suggested readings of many media schools. We welcome Mr. Akash Banerjee and look forward to the message that he has for us. Thank you so much, sir.
Listen, guys, I've been asked to give a little bit of a talk here. And it's not very long ago that I used to be where you guys are sitting. And I'm equally and if not more passionate about debating today than when I was during school. But I'm not going to make this very long, is because since I know how long these talks can really get, and we are all very impatient to get going on with things, I'll just try to keep it short, to just try to give you some value addition of what I have learned in my time in debating, what I do with the knowledge and the skill that I had gained at that point of time, doing what you guys are doing at this point of time. Just a short introduction. I'm not going to again stretch that. I am basically a satirist. I have a YouTube channel which is called the Desh Bhakt, and basically whatever I do in my life is basically because of the speaking skills that I had acquired during my years at La Martiniere, and then of course in Delhi University, where I further honed my debating skills. That's all the introduction that you need. I'm just giving you this introduction is that so that you can understand a few things, why you're here and what are you going to get out of it. Yes, we all want the first prize, and I am sure, and I'm not going to give you the spiel that it is only about it's about competing and not about winning. Of course, it is about winning, but we tend to often overlook what all we are getting while we are trying to win, even if we don't manage to win. So first and foremost, understand that every participant here is going to walk away getting to be a better public speaker. Today, at this point of time, maybe you're privileged enough, you don't understand what a privilege and what an opportunity it is to be able to speak in front of people, in front of an audience, whether be it virtual, whether be it in the real life. Trust me, butterflies in the stomach happen both ways. So the first thing that you will be walking away from this debate is the fact that you will be a better speaker. And trust me, I do speaking classes and I understand that what an underrated skill speaking is. But as you grow in your profession, as you do more interviews, as you sit for GDs, as you manage teams, as you get into leadership roles in the future, you will understand why speaking coherently with facts, statistics, maybe a little bit of humor, we'll come to that in a bit. All of this goes towards making you a much, much better person, a better leader. And remember, communications and public speaking also happens to come into play even in interpersonal or team relationships as well. So first and foremost, understand that this is a very, very good opportunity for you. The second thing about Moon and these debates, Model United Nations, I mean, they had started off when we were in school. Of course, the exposure and the scale of these debates weren't this big as in our time. In our time, we were we were lucky, but not as lucky as you guys. I mean, we had only city-based debates and city-based topics. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, oh, but this puts us in a hard spot. I mean, who the hell wants to be Afghanistan today, huh? But imagine what it does. It takes you out of your comfort zone. It puts you in a difficult spot. It makes you think like somebody else. And I've always said that the most difficult debates in our time used to be the turncoat debates, where you speak for 1 minute on a topic for the motion and then flip as and when. So there are two versions of turncoat debates also. After a minute you flip, or when the adjudicator or the judge says flip. And then you have to go to the completely other side. So imagine being in the position of Afghanistan, being in the position of Pakistan, trying to speak about something that you may not believe yourself, but getting out of your comfort zone, understanding the perspective from the other side, and then making a coherent and data-filled speech from that point. So that tends to be very, very interesting. I don't know if somebody's going to throw up Afghanistan. I would have, had I been the adjudicator of the world. So basically, your worldview is going to be much more interesting. You will be a lot more broad-based in your thinking. You'll get to know a lot more about the world. Why? Is because remember, we are in an interconnected world. What happens in France will have an impact in India. What happens in Afghanistan, as we are seeing in the recent killings in Kashmir, why do you think that these killings have suddenly risen? Is because, well, ISI's now mind is completely free. Afghanistan is a settled matter. Now they've turned their focus onto Kashmir. This is exactly what had happened in the 1990s. Post the Mujahideen throwing out the Russian forces from Afghanistan, they had turned their attention to Kashmir. So basically, they are at this point of time more aggressive. And so international issues will have ramification in local issues. So these debates, these conversations, the research that you do today is going to make you more aware, more well-rounded in your general awareness and knowledge of the world. I've had a very fortunate time as far as debating is concerned at La Martiniere and also in college. I was fortunately the part of the debating contingent that won the inter-Martiniere debate meets that we used to have with Calcutta and Calcutta La Martiniere and Lucknow La Martiniere. And I've always been asked that what's the different thing that you do. I mean, it's not like Shashi Tharoor's English that we bring into play, or it's not like the facts can't be researched by somebody else. Try this when you do debating this time. Add a little bit of humor. Add a little bit of sarcasm, add a little bit of satire. And I'll tell you the secret sauce as well. Now, because you're not competing with me, so I can share this, but earlier I wouldn't have shared this. The secret sauce is that we tend to forget that the judges, the adjudicators are listening to the same speech on and on, same arguments on and on. I mean, how many different facts can you really dig out? Especially when the prep time for your topic might be a little less. So we all have the internet and we are all getting basically the same results. What happens is when you add a little bit of satire, a little bit of humor, a little bit of maybe sarcasm that doesn't hurt, but a little bit of sarcasm. What happens is that it adds that flavor, it adds that masala, it adds that X factor to what you are trying to do. So always remember, if you have to walk away from this talk, I would just say that whether be it in public life, whether be it in personal conversations, whether be it in public speaking, whether be it in debates, try to infuse a little bit of humor, a little bit of satire, because what it does is lightens up the mood. The other big problem, as we've seen with our politicians, is that everybody takes themselves too seriously. Trust me, international relations are not going to change because of what you are debating at this point of time. It doesn't even change if a country is debating, if a particular country is debating. It takes a lot for international policies to change. So instead of taking yourself too seriously, try to see how you can add a little bit of humor. Maybe you can lighten up the mood. Or if somebody is being too much, aggressive or, maybe speaking lies, then you can bring that other person in line by using sarcasm. So that has been my best friend, to infuse a little bit of humor, to infuse a little bit of satire and sarcasm, rub the opposition in a little different way. Just a short while ago, we were having an alumni debate of St. Stephen's College, where I was up against Manishankar Iyer, a very, very experienced politician and a very, very good debater since his time in college. And Manishankar Iyer was trying to softly rib me in the middle of the debate because I come from Hindu college with my graduation and I had done my master's in St. Stephen's College, which makes me 50% Stephanian. And he was trying to rib me on that. And because you read, you get to know that Uma Bharti had recently said that, the jobs of IAS officers is just to pick up the slippers of netas. And because he had been an IAS officer. So I ribbed him on that little bit of a point. So it could be subtle sarcasm, it could be hard-hitting facts that might rib the other person, or it could be humor that lightens up the entire atmosphere. But trust me, just because you have 4 facts and you will come up and say the facts and therefore you're going to walk away with the debate, that doesn't really happen. So add your own value. What is the value that you are bringing in plus the facts? Everybody has the fact, everybody has Google. What is the extra thing that you're bringing in? I think that is something that I want you to definitely think about. Of course, the exposure, guys, please remember that even a few years ago, the scale of these debates never used to be so big. We used to go into a hall, there would be 5 or 10 people, 15, 20 people, and do a debate and just come back with a trophy. It never used to be so dynamic. It never used to be so big. It never used to be so exposure rich. So my suggestion to you is make friends. Make a few enemies, that's absolutely okay. But do make friends, get to know people, understand different points of view. I think if I am to give you some advice as a Bade Bhaiya, or as somebody who has seen the field a little bit more than you guys have, is that what is happening with our generation is that because we are bombarded with information and too much information, we tend to make up our minds very, very quickly based on a headline, based on one article, based on what somebody has told us. We seem to lock in what our opinions are. My request to you and my point to you is that you are not getting any Nobel Prize by locking in your views and positions, and especially when you are where you are in life. I mean, this is no age to have locked in position, hardcore positions that can't be moved by facts or circumstances, or as people change, politicians change, parties change, and things change. So my suggestion to you is that if you approach debating and if you approach real life with an open mind, that yes, things are dynamic. I will change my opinions as facts change. I will change my opinion as information comes up. It'll help you be a better debater. It'll also help you be a better person who is not so rigid in his own belief. And therefore saying that, no, I have believed this once and I will never ever change this belief. And a lot of people suffer from this problem. And, then they have buyer's remorse. They have supported someone, they have supported something, they have held a belief. Now, if they move back from that, they take it as an insult. No, wait, I can't be wrong. Of course you can be wrong. Who can't be wrong? Who isn't wrong in life? So have that flexibility of belief system. Infuse conversation, fun, a little bit of humor and satire and sarcasm in your speech. Enjoy the exposure that you are getting. The public speaking will anyways make you a better person, a more equipped person, even professionally and personally. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who walks away with the first prize. And of course, congratulations in advance to whoever wins the first prize. But whoever speaks will walk away a richer person, a better person, more equipped to handle the future that presents itself tomorrow. And the last word that I would like to say about the future is this dramatic news about 100% cutoffs in Delhi University. I mean, people now look up to me and say, you went to Delhi University, and I am sometimes like, maybe not in today's day and age, I would have gone into Delhi University and some of the best colleges there. What is then going to define you differently from the people who are getting this 100% cutoff, 99% cutoff, is your ability to communicate, is your softer skills, is your ability to persuade people, maybe even inspire people. So please understand that what you are doing today is my father used to always say waste of time in debating. Now, of course, he has a completely different opinion because I was, I was never used to pay attention too much to my studies till later on in life, till class 11. But please ensure that this is part of your studies. This is your overall education that is happening. And this is something that La Martiniere has always emphasized on, making students all-rounders. And I'm so happy that this is happening at the scale at which it is happening. And I'm sure everybody is going to learn from it. And I hope that everybody has some fiery speeches, passion. Please remember, do not just bring in facts. The other secret sauce besides satire and fun, if I may just add as a last point, was the passion. Please believe in whatever you're saying, even if you're defending Afghanistan and the Taliban government there, and if that is what the adjudicators have told you to do, you know what? That person has the best chance of winning, is because if he manages to speak convincingly and present that side convincingly, even without believing it, that person has the highest chance of winning. So with that, I wrap up. I wish you all a very, very, very productive session and very, very fiery speeches. And I will definitely tap in and listen to some of the interesting anecdotes from the debates and from the discussions and from the arguments you guys have. Take care. Have a great time.
Success and quality of any Model United Nations program depends on the members of the executive board of each committee. It is my privilege to introduce you to the executive board members of each committee. The first committee at LMUN is the United Nations General Assembly, the Disarmament and International Committee, the chairperson for which is Ms. Garima Rajpal and vice chairperson Mr. Abhishek Tripathi. The second committee is the United Nations Development Programme, the chairperson for which is Ms. Priyanka Pai, and the vice chairperson for the committee is Mr. Abhiram Krishnan Shukla. The third committee is the United Nations Security Council, the chairperson for which is Mr. Raghav Dua, and the vice chairperson, Mr. Aman Agarwal. The fourth committee is the United Nations Human Rights Council, the chairperson for which is Mr. Rahul Menon, and the vice chairperson, Ms. Meru Madan. The fifth committee is the US House Committee on the Judiciary, and the moderator and the co-moderator for the committees are Mr. Aditya Malhotra and Mr. Abhinav Raj. Sixth committee is the National Security Council Strategic Policy Group, and the chairperson for this committee is Mr. Pratik Manjul, and the vice chairperson, Mr. Arul Kumar. The seventh committee is the German Confederation, and the co-chairpersons for this committee are Mr. Garg Johar and Mr. Siddhant Mishra. The eighth committee is the Oda Nobunaga's Council, for which the chairperson is Mr. Rajveer Singh Bisht and the vice chairperson Mr. Aryan Dhawan. The ninth committee is the Presidium of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union with Mr. Raghav Vadhwa and Mr. Siddhartha Bedi as the co-chairpersons. The 10th committee, being simulated at LMU in 2021, is the ad hoc committee of the Secretary General. And the moderator and the co-moderator for the committee are Mr. Vedansh Tandon and Mr. Ayan Ali Shah.
A very good morning to all. Mr. McFarland, Dr. Siddiqui, the LMUN 2021 Secretariat, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to address you at the commencement of the 8th session of the La Martiniere MUN conference. To briefly introduce myself, my name is Raghav and I served as the Secretary General of the first two editions of the conference, and I'm currently pursuing my Masters in Law at Cambridge. After a very successful first virtual edition in 2020, LMUN is now entering into its second virtual year, but I do hope that we can soon resume normalcy after our vaccination numbers go up, so that you can visit La Martiniere and Constantia and be awed in person. In addition to teaching us how to adapt, this has been an extraordinary time for governments across the world, as they have tried to contain the virus through a range of policy, health and legal measures. There is a definite statist trend since the pandemic struck, as we have looked to governments to mobilize resources, implement containment measures, and spend incredible sums of money to support workers and businesses. This, of course, is not new. Throughout history, pandemics and emergencies have often led to an expansion of state power. As the Black Death spread across Europe in 1348, the authorities in Venice closed the city's port to vessels coming from plague-infested areas and forced all travelers into 30 days of isolation, which eventually became 40 days, and hence the word quarantine, which comes from the Italian equivalent of 40 days. A couple of centuries later, during the plague outbreak, England under Queen Elizabeth I passed a law that allowed authorities to shut the sick in their houses for 6 weeks. And a few years later, the Plague Act of 1604 made criticizing these and other measures illegal. These responses today, of course, don't seem that foreign or novel, and undoubtedly, out of such executive emergencies, often arose new institutions and ways of solving problems that benefited us long after these pandemics were gone. But it is important to keep in mind the flip side of this phenomenon. States today have assumed new powers to trace, track, and control. Some of them have already abused these powers, and it is entirely conceivable that they may never give them back if we are to learn lessons from history. And although it seems convenient to comply and give up freedoms when we are frightened for our lives, it's important to hold power to account now more than ever and agitate for responsible checks and balances upon the untrammeled exercise of state authority. This, of course, does not mean that we have to mindlessly flout government orders to wear masks, for instance, which many have been doing in the name of free speech, but to constructively demand accountability for actions that have impacts on the state of our democracy today. Our responsibility as citizens is to scrutinize state action, and this extends to scrutinizing the responses of international organizations as well. We have, of course, now seen the cracks in the structure of the WHO, for instance, with its responses to the pandemic last year. And during this conference, I hope that we can all instill in ourselves the need to scrutinize and question institutions and individuals who exercise public influence and stake a claim to represent us. Of course, while applying the same moral standards to ourselves. Because while we've come a long way, there is still a very long way to go. And with that message, I wish all of you the very best and congratulate Kinjalk and the Secretariat for another stellar edition of LMUN. Thank you.
Good morning, delegates. I welcome you all to the 8th and the 2nd online session of the La Martiniere Model United Nations 2021. My name is Aditya Jalan, and I served as the Secretary General back in 2016 in the third session. This time of the year always holds a special place in my heart because I get to witness and experience all the intense intellectual debates, all the very unfriendly, friendly, unmoderated caucuses, and at the end of the day, new relationships and friendships being formed. My best advice to you all sitting, watching this video from the comfort of your homes would be to approach new ideas and meet new people with an open mind and ensure that you work collaboratively towards solving many major problems still existing in the world today. I congratulate the Secretariat and the organizing committees for the product of their hard work through the year. And I wish all the delegates the best of luck for the next few days of the conference. I hope you all have a great conference ahead. Thank you and take care.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vedansh, and I was the Secretary General of the conference in the year 2017. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to La Martiniere Modern United Nations LMUN 2021. It gives me a nostalgic feeling making this video for all you young MUNers who have come to participate in this conference and show the talent that they have in this area. LMUN holds a very special place in my heart, for it gave me the people who are my closest today and helped me hone the skills that make me the kind of person that I am. I hope LMUN also gives you immense amount of memories that you will cherish for the rest of your life. With that, I wish Kinjalk and his team the best of luck, and I hope to see you all over the next 3 days. All the best, do well, and vive la Martiniere.
My warm greetings to all the dignitaries and delegates attending the 8th session of La Martiniere Model United Nations. It is a privilege for me to be able to extend to you all a warm welcome to the LMUN experience, striding into its second year as a virtual conference. With the unblemished experience of last year's successful online session, I can assure you that the 8th session will offer to all of you an equitable glimpse into the quality of the conference and the passion with which the students assemble a platform of such vast proportions. My congratulations to Kinjalk and his secretariat, and my most fond regards to Dr. Siddiqui, who have together once again set a benchmark for others around them. I wish for all of you to enjoy the conference, and knowing Kinjalk and his secretariat quite well, I can assure you the best of hospitality and incredible experiences at this year's session. On behalf of the Secretariat of the 5th session of LMUN, whom I represent on this occasion, I wish all of you the very best, and I hope that you have a great time.
A very good morning to all. Mr. McFarland.
The Martiniere Model United Nations has always had my heart, and so it's an honor that the Secretariat invited me to give this short little address. I would like to thank that very same Secretariat, especially their Secretary General, Kinjalk Sharma, who has been able to organize an event of this scale despite the limitations. The fact that the Secretariat managed to do that is really a testament to their efficiency and their competence. I would also like to thank Dr. Seba Siddiqui, faculty advisor, who's been there since the inception of this conference and has led generations of secretariats through differing circumstances, always being there to guide us in the right direction. And then finally, I would like to thank La Martiniere as an institution, including its administration, every single individual within this institution, be it members of the office, be it faculty, or even the principal, vice principal, or the head of the middle school. Every single individual within this institution has been there to help the conference year after year. And the fact that they do so in such a varied capacity is really a testament to the ethos that La Martiniere builds, allowing students to handle events of this scale, the burden which comes with it, whilst also being there to guide us, being there to temper us in certain circumstances. It really is unique to this institution. I hope that the delegates present here have 3 days of discussion, deliberation, and diplomacy that is well worth it. Thank you.
Mr. McFarland, esteemed chief guest, Dr. Siddiqui, Mr. Collins, the LMUN 2021 Secretariat, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to address you all at the commencement of the 8th session of the Martiniere Model United Nations LMUN 2021. I understand sitting in front of your computer screens, trying to get the experience of what an MUN has to offer is quite tiring. But I can assure you all of one thing, that this year's secretariat, led by Kinjalk, has left no stones unturned in order to provide you all with an unmatched experience of what a virtual MUN has to offer. For me, LMUN has always been a symbol of learning, a symbol of self-improvement. It is only we today, as the next generation, can raise the standard of public debate so that we can hope to improve upon the issues to which we raise objections. I hope you all carry this idea of constructively engaging with others in order to seek an acceptable compromise, because the issues which today face us are bigger than you, are bigger than me, and are certainly bigger than our differences. With this, I wish you all the very best and congratulate Kinjalk and his secretariat for organizing yet another stellar edition of LMUN. Thank you so much.
The Martiniere Model United Nations has throughout the years been and continues to be a beacon of excellence, not only in its manner of execution, but also in the level of competition, discussion, and deliberation showcased by the delegates participating in the conference. The LMUN stage has been graced by the presence of numerous distinguished dignitaries, the likes of which include Mr. Mani Shankar Iyer, Dr. Farah Usmani, Mr. Prakash Gupta, Mr. Wajahat Habibullah, Mr. Saurabh Kumar, and Mr. Saeed Naqvi. The Martiniere Model United Nations has grown to become one of the most respected, excellent, and eagerly awaited conferences in India. And now, I would like to introduce to you the Secretary General for Martiniere Model United Nations 2021, Kinjalk Sharma, and request him to say a few words.
Greetings to one and all present here. Welcome to the 8th session of Martiniere Model United Nations LMUN 2021. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Carlyle McFarland, Dr. Zeba Siddiqui, and Mr. P.V. Collins for being present with us this pleasant morning. Youth have a tendency of getting bored easier, faster than people who are elder than them. For one reason, they have a very strong cognizance of understanding and detecting patterns. That is why one of the most common and liked extracurricular activity is Model United Nations, because of the unprecedented crises which come here along the committee sessions which happen. What is LMUN? LMUN has a different definition for everyone present here. My personal expectations from my secretariat and my organization is that we are able to provide a platform to all the delegates that by the end of the 3 days of this conference, it will become our LMUN. For me, LMUN has been more of a process of evolution throughout the years. I remember when I was in class 8th, this was my first conference and I was sitting in this hall. When I moved on to class 9th, in these corridors, I was maintaining the discipline in the opening ceremony of LMUN. When I was in class 10th, I served as the director for registrations, sitting upstairs with rest of my teammates. When I came in class 11th, I served as the Under Secretary General for Delegate Affairs. For the first time, we had a virtual conference. And this year, due to the blessings of Mr. McFarland, Mr. Collins, and Dr. Siddiqui, I have the privilege of being the Secretary General of Martiniere Model United Nations. I give my best wishes to all the delegates who are participating at LMUN and my warmest regards to all the faculty advisors. with the powers vested in me as the Secretary General of Le Martiniere Model United Nations 2021, which happens to be the 8th session of LMUN, I declare the conference open.